Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Come on in and find your seats. Thank you for joining me on this Saturday, April 13th, 2024. Hello, Rao. Hello, Luna. Hello, It's Taken. Thank you for being on time. We'll await these stragglers to find their way in. You made it to the weekend. I hope your weekend has been good. So far, at least. You made it through another difficult week. You did it, class. Congratulations. My name is Mr. Aegis, and I will be your teacher for this evening. Today we do indeed have a lesson. That lesson will be on the topic of online safety, and then we will play Papers, Please. As you can see by my hat and badge. Hope you are all well. How are you doing? How are we doing this Saturday? Enjoying the time off, if you have the time off, if you haven't had to work this weekend. Rao, you say you slept through much of it so far. Well, nothing wrong with that. Catching up on some rest. Not sure if you lost your old set of work keys or if someone else lost them. Lost them or acquired them in some way. I hope no one acquired them and that they're just somewhere you haven't looked yet. Let's head on into the classroom and get started, shall we? There we are. Yes, here we are in the classroom. Welcome, class. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for being on time to our lesson today. Today, of course, our lesson is on online safety. We're talking about all sorts of issues about keeping yourself safe on the internet. Today is Saturday, April 13th, 2024. So let's get started. Yes, indeed, we will be playing Papers, Please after this lesson. Let's get to our lesson proper, shall we? Here's a little outline of what we're going to do. We're going to talk about why internet safety matters. Talk about what our accounts mean to us, passwords, personally identifiable information, our data, antiviruses, VPNs, identifying scams and fraud, social engineering, all of these kinds of things. And you see here, this image, this meme, this viral post of this Pokemon chart. Does anyone understand what this means? Is anyone familiar with this type of post? I've talked about it a little bit before. I think you might remember. Info phishing, Rao says. Yeah, that's what it is. Empress, you remember too? Good, good. I'm glad some people were paying attention in class last time. And that's right, it is info phishing. This one asks you, which Pokemon type are you? It says your birth month is your primary type. And then your birthday is your secondary type. And what does this do? It gets you to post your birthday. And that's important information, isn't it? We're going to talk about why. First, we're going to say, well, why is internet safety so important? Why is this important? Why are we talking about it at all? Well, it's important because of three big main reasons. Physical safety, or your personal safety, shown here by this Magic the Gathering card of a personal energy shield. Your financial safety, and your social and personal safety. That's my resume there. How might bad internet safety practices impact your physical safety, class? Does anyone have an idea of why that might be? How could bad internet practices, bad online safety impact your physical safety? Your real life safety, your bodily safety? Rao says, ye olde human trafficking. Yeah, that's the big one. That is the big one, isn't it? Eggs, you say that card is overtuned? I honestly wouldn't know. I don't know anything about Magic the Gathering. I just thought it was funny because it's an elite from Halo. And I thought, what is that? They made Magic the Gathering cards of Halo? Anyway. And yeah, Empress, all of it is important in terms of protecting us from hackers and viruses. And that leads us into this middle one here, financial safety. Certainly good internet practices will keep your finances safe. And then, of course, the social safety. Does anyone have any idea why bad or good internet practices might impact something like this? What ideas do you get from this image? What might this lead you to consider? Next to that card is not real. No way Wizard would release something that broken. The enemy of your enemy. Hello again. You say Magic the Gathering Fallout cards. Did they make those too? And Rao, you give a great example. The kid who mouthed off to the NASA official about the job he was about to get at NASA, and then was immediately fired. Or they had the job offer rescinded. That was a great life lesson for everyone else to see. They cursed out some guy at NASA who turned out to be important, and they rescinded their job offer. Great job, kid. Yeah, that's a great example, and that's what I'm talking about. You don't want to be the main character of Twitter, Rao. Yeah, and that's pretty succinctly put. Things you do and say, your information, getting out there, it can lead to social consequences. That's something that most people don't really consider when they think about online safety. So let me ask you, what do your accounts mean to you? What does your online accounts mean to you? What does your online identity mean to you personally? Hard on Eggs, our resident person who says things like this, says being completely anonymous on the internet means I can post thirst on main. And it does mean that. It actually does in fact mean that. And there's nothing wrong with that, I think. To each their own. And we are going to talk about anonymity a little later on. Yeah, and that's what a lot of people's online accounts mean to them. It's somewhat anonymity. It's a shield. Empress, you say it means you can express yourself with different accounts and be safe. Absolutely. You can have multiple accounts that allow you to express different aspects of yourself. Good point. Enemy of your enemy. Thirst posting could be a personality trait. If the recipient reciprocates or is fine with it, certainly positive. So we need to talk about, I guess, the elephant in the room when it comes to online safety, the big one. And it's probably the most boring one to talk about, and it's the one that everybody talks about. But we do still have to talk about it. It is still important. Even though it might sound like basics, the basics are still important and are the foundation. Rawi said the internet is basically your second home address, so you live here. That's a great point. It is like someone's second home. People, we live our digital lives online. This feels like a part of my life, you know? And yes, Bags, you're right. It is passwords. You guessed it. I know that you are a techie. You're a tech bro. Bags, yeah, you could say it's a Second Life. I know some people who were really into Second Life. Yeah, we do have to talk about passwords, right? Got to talk about them. And I'm not going to give you a whole lot of information in terms of why this is all the case. Because like I've talked about before, this is skills-based. I want to teach you skills, things that you can put into practice. It's not so much my intent that you remember exactly why the cryptography of it works, more that you understand what you should and should not do. Enemy, you say, no social accounts makes anonymity way easier, but you also can't post thirst without social media. Eggs, you say you used the same word as a password for a decade. Yeah, that's really bad OPSEC. And I was going to make this lesson called something about OPSEC, but I figured people might get the wrong idea. You know, that word sort of has connotations of people who are basically LARPing online as security folks, or it even has some political implications. Yeah, we're just going to say online safety, but I'm going to give you the do's and don'ts. I'm going to play a short clip from another VTuber, someone that I collaborated with, who was a part of that STEM collab that we did of STEM streamers. And they gave a lesson on cryptography. Just going to play a brief clip after this from them about why this sort of stuff works. But I'll give you the rundown of the do's and don'ts. The don'ts, Eggs has just demonstrated. Don't use one word. Don't use just one word. Don't make your password anything that's related to your account. Like, I wouldn't use the password teacher1 exclamation point. That's something that someone might be able to guess. Eggs, you say, sometimes you added numbers at the end of it. Yeah, like when your username is taken and you have to make a different one. Yeah, I get that. Let's see, the next one is don't have that format that I just mentioned. Password1 exclamation point. Come on. Rao, you say you get to sit in on your cybersecurity trust meetings for your new job. Yeah, there's some wild stuff in terms of business that they need to do and try to protect their accounts. You know, one person's mistake can really mess things up for everyone. Yeah, nobody will break your password. Bag's password 1212 or 1312. Enemy say my outfit gives you crossing guard vibes. Well, darn it, it does. It really does look like that, huh? Man, I was going for like, you know, a big important government official, but I guess crossing guard is sort of more accurate. And yeah, I hacked your Twitch, Bags. I hacked your mainframe. It was easy. Yeah, and you also don't want to make your password the same for every account. Don't use the same password for everything, because one person, or they get one password for one account, and now they've got all of them for everything that you do. Badged Badger. Yeah, I've got my badge on. I'm important and official now. Of course, you also probably shouldn't write those passwords down. Now, some people do that, and they put a little post-it note, but that's how I got the internet security filters off when I was in school, when I was in middle school in the computer lab, and the computer lab monitor had the password to the system on a post-it note on their desk, and so I could just get it, put it in, and play games in the computer lab, look at things I probably shouldn't have been looking at. And that's, you know, it's just bad OPSEC, as you say. And of course, you know, telling anyone your password, Bags, probably not a good idea. Bags say, you should make your password how they make games, make them in games and movies. Yes, Panda, I did make a TikTok about you. Well, about the Scottish. Enemy, your password is so secure even you don't know it. Empress, you ask, do web engines help you keep your passwords? You mean like password managers? Yeah, if you get logged out, I hated that. When I lost, well, I didn't lose it. I had it stolen. When I had my phone stolen and I couldn't do my two-factor authentication, which we'll talk about right after this, it was a real pain to get into my accounts. Yeah. You should also not use the same password recovery questions for every account. Because again, if someone gets one account's password recovery questions, then they've got all of them. But what you should do, things that are good, are to increase the length of the password. Increasing the number of characters will actually improve your password security more than using special characters. Because each single character is another 26 possible lowercase letters, 26 possible uppercase letters, 10 total numbers, 15 or so total special characters. So every single additional character in your password increases your password security quite a bit. You should also try to use the upper and lowercase letters more at random, rather than just having the first letter of a word or first letter of each word in a phrase be an uppercase letter. Mix them up, make them random. And of course, don't just put special characters at the end, you know, like password 1 exclamation point. Mix them up. You can use phrases if you want to make it easier to remember them. You know how if you've ever saved WebMs, how it sort of gives them random words like feral smart badger or something like that. You can use passphrases if you're using these other tips. Longer passwords, mixing upper and lower case at random, putting the special characters in at different places. Empress, yeah, you're asking if... Oh, you get a notification that the option to save your password. Yeah, I don't use those. Like Opera GX, which I use as my browser, always asks if I want to save my password. I don't want to do it with my browser. If you're going to use a password manager, you should use one that is a separate, standalone, reputable company that just does that kind of password management. Yeah, random words bags are vulnerable to the kind of dictionary attacks that we're talking about. But if you're using the other tips, using the random words is more so to help you remember it. For example, you see the sample password up here, something that would be relevant for me to be able to easily remember. School in my phone, but there's random capitalization, random capitalized L, the O's are replaced with zeros, the exclamation point is in place of an I, capitalized M and Y, got special characters here, underscores and hyphens, PH with parentheses as the O, 3 as an E, a little bit of leet speak, I can easily remember this with an acronym. Got S, got I, got M, and you've got P. SIMP. Yeah. Good point, Ralph. You do have to remember the password to your password manager account. That's pretty important. Yeah, Empress, there are apps that can help you save your passwords. There's specifically just password managers that you have one password that gets you into that account, and it manages all of your passwords for all of your accounts, typically with high encryption, and gives you passwords that are very secure. I do have a little bit of a video that we're going to play. This is from a streamer whose speciality is cryptography, and they gave this lesson in our big stream collab for STEM.
Given that passwords themselves do not explicitly have to be messages for you to communicate, you just need a unique set of characters to ensure that it's your own identity. High entropy passwords are much more important than low entropy passwords. Entropy being essentially a mathematical measurement of how much randomness you have in a computer set of data. If you have a longer password, you have more potential for different characters, so that's going to increase your entropy. I know y'all have been on websites, and I'd say starting about maybe 12 years or so ago. Just about every website starts asking you for lowercase and capital characters, using a few numbers, using special characters. Those are all bits that increase entropy even further, for both the inclusion of all the strange symbols that aren't letters, and using
Entropy
lowercase
grind.
or uppercase randomly.
Rand maxing.
Some people who are very, very bad at passwords, and most websites won't let you get away with it, will end up using the very simple and obvious things of just single words or number sequences. These are incredibly easy to crack, and if any of y'all have any passwords roughly resembling this, I'd recommend after the whole symposium, go back and try to change them, please. Most passwords are probably going to look like this at some point, usually an easy way for a human to generate a decent password whenever they're signing onto a website. A lot of people will be writing something in leak speak, and these are going to be okay. Most websites will enforce this as a minimum. Some of these are going to be very easy to remember and understand just by applying, okay, I can swap a few letters in with these numbers here and there.
Yeah, and you see this sample password they've given here. It's quite long, and it's still something that they could remember. Xander is super cool. Block something overhead, something that's relevant to them. And you see how it's quite long, and the longer it is, like I said, the more secure it is. This is the kind of thing that a password manager would help you out. Begs, you say you ain't remembering that? Well, maybe your memory is just bad. Maybe you need to go back and watch my lesson on increasing and improving your memory. Skill issue? Yeah, I think that's a skill issue on your part. skill issue, L, ratio, bozo, all that good stuff. But now we obviously also have to talk about two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication, 2FA, MFA. I hate it. You probably hate it, but it's important. It's extremely annoying. I know it's annoying. I know that it's annoying. But you must construct additional factors. All of that password stuff is amplified in its success in protecting you with multi-factor authentication. You especially want to use it on any accounts that you have that are sensitive. Oh, let me turn down the music. Thank you, Lunawan, for reminding me. I rely on you all to let me know when I'm screwing up like that. Yes, 2FA, MFA. I know it's annoying. I know it is an extra step and it takes at least a few extra seconds to get into your accounts with it. But it is important, especially on those sensitive accounts, your bank accounts, your PayPal, your Twitch account, your Steam account, anything that's going to have money on it, especially, or have your real names and such on it. And there are more accounts than you think that will have sensitive financial info. Your Steam account probably has your real name on it. It's got, if you've ever bought something on Steam, you might have your financial info on it. Your Google account can trace you, or someone can figure out exactly where you live from even your personal Google account. A lot more accounts have sensitive info than you realize, and two-factor authentication is important on any of those sensitive accounts. Eggs, you're going to cook some good passwords. Good. Stop using just one word. And keep those two-factor authentication apps updated. Like I said, I know that it's annoying trying to get into my university account, my school account, having to make sure I have my phone with me at all times, make sure I have a signal so that I can press the little button. It sucks, but I got to do it. Keep those updated. Sometimes they will also have backup codes that you can get into those accounts if you don't have your device with you. Make sure you keep those secure as well. Yeah, good point, Bags. Thank you for bringing that up. Avoid the text message two-factor authentication if you have. Like I have here, use apps. Use apps instead. The text-based 2FA, SMS-based 2FA, those may be susceptible to SIM spoofing. Not something I have a lot of expertise in, so I don't want to get too into the weeds with that, but yeah, text message 2FA can be vulnerable to attack. I'm going to move on to something that is not in the technical aspect, something that is getting us into the personal method or personal means of protecting yourself online. And that's keeping things separate. The 4 Ps, as I have them here. Your personal private information, your public personal information, your professional private information, and your professional public information. Empress mentioned earlier talking about having multiple accounts. That's actually very important in protecting yourself online, keeping yourself safe in that way. I have accounts specifically just for this, just for my streaming. Disconnected from anything related to my real life, my real name, talking not just about that anonymity, but also self-expression, so that people can't connect you to things you don't want to be connected to. You know? That's an element of that anonymity that is so important. And the things that you do and say, the way that you express yourself in your online accounts, that online world that we were talking about earlier, that it feels like a real place. That person that you are there, the person that is probably much closer to the person you are inside, that may not be the person you want the world to see as your first name, real name, first name, last name. So we have here in the personal private box, those are the things that no one sees. That's your personal private stuff. Your professional private stuff, though, that's your really important info. That's like your bank account and your social security number. I have that listed as professional. I guess you could just call it more like the legal stuff. Your professional public stuff, that's, your LinkedIn. That's the stuff that you're willing to have the world see, but should only be connected, say, to your first name, last name, your real life. And then there's that public personal. That's the stuff, the info, you're okay with being seen. What are you all talking about in there? Loss? Now, you don't want to lose access to any of these accounts. You don't want to lose by having them get connected to each other. Yeah. Empress, you say you've heard of the principle of trust but verify. Does that apply to these 4 Ps? I would say so. Think about each of these quadrants. Whenever you're about to do or say something that might give out personal information. Yeah, so it's what everyone sees, or it's what no one sees, okay with being seen. What are you talking about? The quadrant is loss? No, I just made this. What? Look at the red, white, and blue, pink lines. Yeah, these are I. These are a couple more I's. Yeah, they're all I's except for the L for the LinkedIn. It's loss. No, it's still up there. I haven't lost it. Played you for fools. Well, if you don't follow these tips, I would say that that's foolish. Someone might connect those thirst posts to your LinkedIn, and now NASA will not hire you because you were on a website that has 1 letter and 3 numbers after it. That was almost banned in Arizona. Let's move on to this next slide on personally identifiable information, PII. You might have heard this term in the professional world if you've worked at a place that ever has anything to do with having people's information. When I worked at a small college, we handled student data. That's very important stuff. So we talked about PII. Rao, you say, seriously, there was an account you really liked on Twitter. Someone got a little close to her real identity, so she wiped the whole thing. And frankly, that was probably the right decision for her. Probably better to be safe than sorry. It's pronounced P-E-E. Yeah, P-E-E. Yeah, you could call it that, P-E-E. In Japanese, the I is more of an E. Like kitsune. Oh, I'm very sorry to the person that I played that stream clip from. I should give you their link. I don't want to not give them credit for their work. I'm going to put this in the chat. That is Xander Turing, twitch.tv/Xander Turing. Thank you very much. I talked to them a little bit earlier, just wanted to make sure that it was okay to reference what they were talking about. But yeah, I have a couple of icons here, and I want to see if we can identify what this means. Personally identifiable information. What's this bottom left one here? What might this represent? I mentioned earlier, in fact, just a few moments ago, a job that I had. This is a school. Think about when you're giving out information, if it might reveal what school you went to or what school you go to. Got a resume here. If you are on those personal accounts that you want to keep private to yourself or to friends or to be just for your personal activities and your personal life, is what you're saying going to reveal where you work or where you used to work? You know, not generally, like when I say, oh, I worked at a college. Is that going to reveal the specific place you worked? Oh, Ivy mentions HIPAA. Yeah, you know all about personal information when you had to learn about HIPAA every year. Very much so, because that kind of personal information can be very damaging to someone and can reveal some very personal information. I have here on this bottom right one is a calendar. And that one can be interpreted in two ways. That can either be like the birthday that we talked about earlier with that Pokemon meme, but can also mean your schedule. Is what you're going to say reveal what your daily schedule might be? Empress, you ask, is there a way to lock a zip file under a password? Yeah, I believe there is. I don't think that I or almost anyone on Earth pays for the, WinRAR, but there is a way to secure a zip file with a password. If you've ever downloaded certain things from, say, a torrent website that you've obtained completely legally, it might be locked under a password. And when you try to unzip it, it will ask you, what's the code? What's the password? So if there's files you want on your account or on your computer to be secure, so that even if someone gets on your computer or device, they still can't get access to those files, yeah, you can zip those under a password. That's a good point, Luna. I don't think I thought about that either. When you're online and offline, can give away your time zone. If you say that you're third shift, people can see when you are little icon on Facebook Messenger or on Discord or whatever it is that shows when you're online or when you are offline or when you're away. That can give out your schedule. This is actually a good example of someone knowing that about you. I was in an online community for a time, and notice how I'm being very vague about this because we're talking about PII. I was in an online community for a while, and I was feeling really down. And someone picked up on that, a friend. But it was a distant friend, an online friend. But they realized that I was down, but they had also been so acclimated to when I would post and when I would talk that they knew my schedule. They knew when I woke up. And so every morning when I woke up, they would be online and would talk to me and would say things like, I hope you have a good day. You're doing great. Just encouraging things to help me feel better. And it was very interesting because they lived in a much later time zone, or a much earlier time zone. So when I would get up at like 7 to go to my job, they would be up at what was like 5 in the morning their time. They got up that early just to try and make me feel better. But let me tell you, most people are not going to be like that. If most people, when they learn your schedule that way, they're not going to do it for positive reasons. But I just wanted to relay that little story because I always think about them. And I will never forget what they did to help me get through a tough time. Anyway, I have an outline of this. What might this represent to you in terms of not wanting to reveal too much about yourself? What might this little image, this icon, represent? We've talked about where you go to school, where you go to work, when your birthday or what your schedule is. Loon hits it right on the head. Our resident bun. Yeah, your hometown, your current location, your current city. Now that might be okay to tell someone on your real life account when you're talking about, hey, I live here. This is where I worked. Because you're not giving out any other information on those accounts. Or, that's your professional account. It's like LinkedIn. You're looking for a job. Things like that. But it's not something you would want to reveal very publicly. Got these two icons that are very similar. Might be hard to figure out what these ones mean, but how about you give it a crack? Take a crack at it. Eggs, you say you can play fast and loose with your hometown or address because you're moving out in a month or so. I wouldn't say so. People can trace you like that too, you know? Someone could try to get your new address by, if you live in an apartment, contacting the apartment building and saying, I've got a piece of mail for the resident at this location. Do you have a forwarding address? You gotta think like a criminal. You gotta have a criminal mind, you know? It takes a criminal to catch a criminal. Do you trust me? As you say, the Finnish postal system is too good for that. But I'm glad that works for you. But the rest of us live in countries that are not so good at that kind of thing. I might be worried to give out an old address. And also they might find, family through that. Yeah, what do you think these two icons might represent? Enemy, it takes a criminal to catch a criminal, said the criminal to the criminal. That's good. It sort of fits with your name there, enemy of your enemy. Yeah, like America, for example, Empress. Like America. Not the band, not the great band who did the musical score for the great movie The Last Unicorn, one of my favorite movies. Yeah, these two, haven't seen the right answer yet, represents family information. Your family tree, for example. Think about whether the information that you're about to give out publicly would reveal who your brother or sister is, or a cousin, or uncle, or grandfather, mother. And this would represent, your real life friends group, your Facebook friends. Is what you're about to give out publicly going to be able to connect you to other people's real life names? People can get to your real name and information by getting to your friends' information or family information. Yeah. We have one more slide to talk about with personally identifiable information, PII. Eggs touched on this earlier. Internet anonymity protects you. And the biggest threat to it is user error. And also politicians who hate you. But the biggest threat to your online safety is bad online safety practices. Think about, would you tell the information you're about to give out publicly to someone who wanted to get to that financial, personal, or social self that we talked about at the beginning? Would you give out that information? Probably not. User error. That was an image I wanted to... Yeah, there we go. From the depths of Wikipedia site. User error, referred to in other languages. In Danish, it's called fejl 40 or error 40, indicating that the error was 40 centimeters from the device or the person sitting in front of the screen. In Portuguese, it is called a BIOS problem. BIOS standing for Burro Idiota Operando o Sistema, or the idiot operating the system. I like some of these. And if you're not following Depths of Wikipedia, it's a pretty good Twitter account, for as long as Twitter still functions. In French, it's called an interface chaise clavier, or keyboard chair interface. What is the other one that I like? Yeah, Quebec, CAS 18. The error is 18 inches from the device. That is your face. Ah, Pebcac. You knew one of them, Rao. Yeah. Don't make the thing that gives out your information be you. Also wanted to talk about images and words. Not the Dream Theater album or the Dream Theater song, great as it is. But I want you to look at this. Look at this photograph. And look at this selfie. Could you be picked out by a frame that shows yourself? A lot of people post images of themselves, post selfies of themselves. I don't know what else a selfie would be of, but yes. Posting your pictures can also lead to someone finding you. Why? Because it's pretty easy to do a reverse image search. One way that you can prevent that is to only post images of yourself that you are posting on those personal accounts, those accounts that you want to keep separate from your real life. Only posting images that you never post anywhere else. Rao, that geotracker, those geotracker people who find locations for fun, yeah, that's pretty scary. And I think it's good. GeoGuessr, GeoTracker, GeoHunter, GeoGuessr, one of those. It is scary, but I think it's a useful service to us to remind us that the internet is pretty scary at times. You don't need to be scared. You should just be careful. But it can be pretty scary what they can find out about you. Hello, Sad Panda. Welcome. We're still in the midst of our lesson. Haven't gotten to our game yet. Good to see you. I hope you're well. Hope your last stream went well. But this right here has identified a lot of people. It has identified a lot of people, for example, at protests. Because images get posted places and they can connect them. They can connect the dots. But I don't post any images of myself on my personal accounts that I've ever posted anywhere else. Because if somebody reverse image searches it, there will be 0 results. It has never been posted anywhere else online. I mentioned here also words, though. Something I don't think a lot of people think about, and probably isn't a thing to be too concerned about, but could you be picked out by words and phrases that you use? I was able to identify someone who was posting anonymously somewhere because they used a particular phrase that I had only ever heard them use. They just had a weird sort of mannerism and way of saying things. And I picked them out because I've never heard anyone say that phrase that way. Just something to think about. It's probably not a big deal, but it was interesting to me that I could pick out someone from just the way that they talked. Anyway, yeah, the image search thing is the big one. The big takeaway here from that slide. Be careful of the pictures that you post of yourself. And the things that might be in the background that might reveal where you live. Regional dialects are hard to shake off, Rao. Yeah, I think it was that English was their second language, or maybe their third language. They were a smart person. But they were using idioms that were sort of mixed. Empress, you ask, can someone edit pics to destroy a person's life? I've certainly gotten that impression. And a lie gets around the world before the truth gets its shoes on, or something, as the saying goes. Someone could certainly edit pics, and then the truth about it, that, hey, that wasn't real, it's edited, might take a while to catch up. Which, if you avoid posting those pics of yourself, can help to mitigate that problem. Next thing we're going to talk about, though, is your data or data. I don't really have a strong opinion on how you pronounce it, data or data. Not so much like GIF, where it's definitely GIF and not GIF. Data, data, either one is fine with me. I'm not an English teacher. But your data is everywhere. Datum. Da-dum-dum. Da-dum-bum. Your data is everywhere. And you can't always control where it is or where it goes or what companies do with it. But they say the internet is forever. But it's not always forever. I've gotten information about my real life self removed from the internet, and now I can't find it even if I wanted to. It's true. There are sites that can help you do that. The first thing, though, are the things that you can easily do. You can just go to your settings. Please, go check all of your settings when this lesson is over. Check your Google privacy settings especially. Google tracks everything that you do, everywhere you go, every site you visit, all that sort of stuff that they can track if you're not telling them not to. Most of these companies, by default, follow you and track your data and hold on to it and sell it unless you tell them that they can't. Go to your Google privacy settings. There is a whole host of options that you have in terms of telling them what you don't want them to save. For example, go into these settings. Look at just the first top 3. Things you've done and places you've been. Is that information that you just want sort of sitting around in case someone gets into your Google account? Do you want Google to track the things you've done and the places you've been? Do you want people to have the info of the data from the apps and services that you use? Probably not. I would ask you, but I'm guessing that your answer is going to be no. But you get a lot of control over what is in here. You can turn off the history tracking. You can turn off the location tracking. And you should. There's no real reason to have it tracking you. But going back, you should also set up search alerts. This is something that I do. I track search alerts. Not because I'm vain and I want to know whenever anyone is talking about me, but because I want to know if my email address comes up in Google search. I want to know if my name comes up in a Google search. This is just an example. I'm using this instead of my real name and such, but I have search alerts set up for my real name, my real email address, and then Google will send me an email and tell me, hey, your email address shows up in a Google search. And then I can take some kind of action to try to get rid of it. Hello, Wreck and Cat. Thank you for your lurk, as cats are wont to do. The other thing on that slide is your app permissions. Look at these app permissions. Blank account or blank app needs access to your in-app purchases, to your device and app history, to your identity, to your contacts, to your location, to your photos and files, to your Wi-Fi connection, to your device ID and call information. Why would, say, the timer app that you're downloading need access to all this crap? Wreck Cat, you were recently doxxed, and I'm so sorry to have heard that. And yeah, even if you have very good security, even if you take very good OPSEC, things can still happen. People can still get to your information, which just drives home the point so much that this kind of preemptive, prophylactic protection is just that important. Because if people really want to, if they really want to get that information, they're gonna find a way. You want to make it as hard as possible at the very least. Anonymous follows are great. so they can't use your username against you. Yeah, and we were talking a little bit earlier about keeping things separate, keeping your anything connected to your real life information separate from those, that online identity. The person that I am, Mr. Aegis, is disconnected from anything relating to my real name, my real place of birth. Prophylactic enemy of your enemy. That is a medication or an activity that is preventative in nature. Prophylactic. You get the specific dictionary definition. Prophylactic, as an adjective, it is intended to prevent disease. Or as a noun, it's a medicine or course of action used to prevent disease. Drink a little water. I will do that. My big old glass of water here. Yeah. But watch those app permissions. Those can really get you too, because a lot of the apps we download, they're not exactly from reputable companies. Anyone can put an app on the App Store or on Google Play. Yeah, set up those search alerts too. Always check all of your social media privacy and tracking. Twitter right now is, they're going to be using your posts in training their AI. I don't want that. I'm going to opt out of that stuff. Eggs, you say you're scared about losing your phone because of all the two-factor authentication on there. Well, if you have good password practices, that means they still have to get through both layers. Layers, like an onion, like an ogre. Oh, I also wanted to mention there's a specific website on Google, myactivity.google.com. It's a one-stop shop that will show you all of the results about you. It will show you everything that's on the web about yourself. Because if you don't know what's out there about you, it's hard to get rid of it. But in the US at least, for those who are outside of the US, you're not aware, in the US there are opt-outs for spam. You can go to specific sites to say, I don't want sites to be able to send spam to me. And you can opt out of it. One such site that I recommend checking out is privacyrights.org. You can actually opt out of people search databases. If you look up someone's name and you've got like those white pages results, see, for non-Americans, the white pages is like the part of the telephone book that gives people's phone numbers and addresses. You can tell those search databases to get rid of you, to remove your information. The internet isn't always forever. Empress here, you grew up with the PSAs. Yeah, they did not do a great job of really driving home how important this is and all the specific things that you need to do. It was all about, just stranger danger, not revealing. God, this is gonna make me seem older than I am. But, in chat rooms where people would say ASL. How many of you here know what ASL stands for? Be honest. How many of you were back in the days of AOL chat rooms and IRC? You do, Sad Panda? ASL is not American second language. Aegis says loss. I did say loss. You said it multiple times. American Sign Language? No. Anyone else? It stands for age, sex, location. Back in the day in chat rooms, there you go. Yeah, Sad Panda. Figured you would have it. People would say A/S/L in a chat room when they were talking to someone because they wanted to know how old you were, your sex, and where you lived. Yeah, I was seriously asking, Fags. I'm very serious about loss and how much you can lose by not practicing good online safety. Some people don't know. They weren't around for that era, or it wasn't Americans. keep getting sidetracked because we're having a lot of fun here. But yeah, check out your privacy settings on all of the sites you use. American sex language. American is not a very sexy language, sorry. Set up a search alert for yourself. Monitor those app permissions. And if a calculator app asks to have permission to know your identity and have access to your photos, tell it no. No, you cannot have access to that. There's another basic topic. We've talked about some of these social aspects of keeping your information safe. But we talked at the very first session, segment, about passwords, right? We started off with the boring basic stuff. What do you think is the other most boring basic aspect of protecting yourself and your devices online? Logging off? Yeah, you could just log off. Don't plug random stuff into USB ports. Very good. What I mean by that is antivirus. We think of that more as our computer safety, but it is an aspect of you safety. Because those viruses have a purpose. Their purpose is to get to your information. For the most part. Viruses get to your information, they take control of your devices, and they can send all of your stuff to someone else that you don't know. Begs you want to know what's on the USB you found in your parking lot or works parking lot. Well, that's why you just go to the library and plug it in there. No, don't go to the library and do that. The library is a sacred place. It is a sacred institution that should be protected and well funded. Yeah, ransomware row. You don't believe in antivirus? It has 5G and Bill Gates is in the middle of it somewhere. Little Bill Gates DNA is in there. You don't believe in the mRNA antivirus? Antivirus seems boring. It seems boring to talk about. But it's that important. Don't just rely on whatever came with your computer. Don't rely on Windows Defender. You don't have to pay for a fancy one. There are some good free antivirus. There are pros and cons to them, so I don't recommend any one specifically. You can look for the reviews and figure out which one you want to use, but things like Avast and Bitdefender and AVG are all free and decently reviewed. Some of them have good features like giving you email checking and allowing you to shred files, which we'll talk about in a moment. And keep them updated. Put the permissions on those to allow themselves to be updated because there are constantly new viruses being developed. In fact, as you see up here, there are over 200 new viruses found every month. And I say found because that's just the ones people find every month. Yeah, Rao, you say you use AVG for your side gigs. Ignore the pop-ups telling you your PC is getting slow. Yeah, free stuff usually also comes with their desire to get you to purchase their paid version. But you don't have to. Yeah, for your work stuff, you're probably going to have an enterprise level solution for all of that. Run those scans regularly. If you do find a virus, if your antivirus tells you, hey, there's an antivirus in this, don't try to delete it yourself. Don't try to deal with it yourself. Let the antivirus do its job, follow its directions, and then run a full scan again and change all of your passwords. I know that seems like it'll be a lot of work, but you don't want to leave any traces of that virus around. Empress, you say you heard the worst antivirus software is Protogen. I don't know if I've heard of that. Yeah, if you tell me that it's bad, I'm going to avoid it. Protogen. Wait, is that a reference to something else? I've heard that word somewhere else before. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic. It's sort of related to antivirus. VPNs. Virtual private networks. You probably heard a bunch of advertisements. You might see them on Twitch in the advertisements. But a virtual private network secures your connection to the internet and obscures it so that people cannot get into your data that's being sent back and forth. Do you need it? Do you need a VPN? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not, depending on what you're doing. I mention it as an aspect of internet security and online safety because it does help to give you more anonymity when you're doing certain things on the internet. And I don't mean like that. I mean like geo-restricted content. I'll mention just a couple of the common paid ones. There's NordVPN and ExpressVPN. I use NordVPN. I got it really cheap because they were doing like a 3-year deal. It ended up costing me like $5 a month, so that was worth it. Protogen is made in India, you say, Empress, and it is an actual antivirus software. Unfortunately, there are a lot of scams and fraud and viruses, bad programs masquerading as helpful security features. Yeah, I think that's correct. The cons of using a VPN is that they can be quite pricey, unless you get a super good deal like I had, very luckily. But there are some free options. The two that I've seen recommended are Proton VPN and Windscribe. But all free VPNs have the same sort of problems. They all tend to have pretty low data caps, and you can't spend a whole lot of time using them, or send or receive a whole lot of data using them. And because you're not paying for it, you're not going to get any support. There's no customer service or support. Typically, the free ones will offer cheaper paid versions than the big companies, but if you're going to use a VPN and pay for it, I would say look for a good deal on one of the big established reputable VPN companies. For example, yeah, Empress, you're skeptical of VPNs. Opera GX, the browser that I use, they have a type of VPN in it, but I don't really want to use it. I'm just going to use the paid one. I feel like that's probably safer. VPNs can help protect you, though, when you are sending and receiving data that you wouldn't want someone to find out about necessarily. Perfectly legal stuff. But you do want to avoid sending personal information, like bank account information, for example. Because it is going through a separate service, you are sending that data through the company. NordVPN in one case. It's another layer of possible attack. So if someone were to have a big data breach at ExpressVPN, and you've been sending your bank account information through VPN, well, then somebody's got that information. O'Reilly say, download an ad blocker for the love of God. Yes, get uBlock or what's the other one? I've only been using uBlock. Get an ad blocker. I'm gonna mention something about that a little bit later. Cyrus, yes, hello, welcome. Everyone say what movie you came out on the day you were born. That is an excellent example of those viral information social engineering things. What movie came out on the day you were born? What song? This is a big one I've heard. What song was at the top of the charts when you were born? Boom, someone's got your date of birth. Eggs are using uBlock Origin and ad nauseum. Yeah, I use uBlock Origin and Ghostery, which I'll talk about. I think I have next. Oh no, we're going to talk about scams and fraud next. Very important topic right here. Scams and fraud and social engineering. First things first, I'm just going to give you the few basic lines before we talk about it in more depth. Don't click links that you don't recognize. Don't click links from people you don't know. In case you didn't hear me the first time, don't click links from people you don't know. Don't click links that look suspicious. Don't click links that have a random string of numbers and letters as the web address. Don't do it. If you think it might be legit, don't click it. Copy that link and put it into a search instead. Yeah. Enemy, you say you're using iFunny and learned it will literally stop working and ask you to turn off any ad blockers. Yeah, YouTube has been getting much better at not working if you're using an ad blocker, but the current iteration that I'm using of uBlock does work. Someone came out with a mod or a patch that you paste into the settings, and it can get around those YouTube ads. The biggest scams to watch out for. No one is going to give you money for giving them some first. And no real business or agency is going to take payments in gift cards. Gift card scams get lots of people. Someone will say you've won something, you just need to send me a gift card, or you overpaid for something, you need to send us back the money in a gift card or in some obscure payment thing that looks like it might work like PayPal. It's not real. Another scam that's been going around is someone on your friends list saying that they need your help with something. They want your help with something. Test out my game. Test out this app I made. And then you click the link, and then it hacks your Discord. I had a good friend, smart person. They believed that their friend had sent them a legitimate request to test out their video game, test out their game that they're working on, and they got into their Discord account. It's unfortunately very common right now. It's going around on Discord, so be very careful with links on Discord. Now I will get into more specifically what scams are going around right now. I touched on it. There's a big one that's people say they accidentally sent someone too much money. I accidentally sent you too much money on this transaction. They will pose as someone that bought something from you. And you need to give me back the money that I overpaid. One of the biggest ones out there in the job world is a job that asks for a deposit. A legitimate job is never going to ask you for a deposit before you begin the job. They'll say, hey, if you need to put $100 down on this deposit for the uniform or whatever, but you got the job. Not legitimate, most likely. How do I tip my boss, Bags asks. Well, I'll take that. You can just give it to me. I'll make sure they get it. You should tip your teacher. Also, of course, watch out for any random DM from an artist. All of us here probably know what that one is. Older people might not recognize it, but you may get random messages from an artist saying, I want you to commission me. Artist, yeah, in quotation marks. A lot of random artists will send you a DM asking you to commission them. And they'll send you a link to check out their portfolio. And the link is, of course, to somewhere that logs your IP or sends your information to them. In Discord, the Nitro scam is going around a lot. You will get messages in your server, often from someone in your circle of friends, someone that you might trust, and it says they've gifted you Nitro. And you click the link, and it, of course, gives them your information. Yeah, Bun, you know what I'm talking about. If you post any of those keywords on Twitter, you will get a dozen of those types of things. I lost my account, MetaMask, commission. Yeah. Oh, you've never been linked to your site, Vegas. Yeah, I think I might get it more often because I do, it's certainly something that a lot of people are doing to VTubers. Because VTubers tend to not just need art commissions or rigging commissions, they also need logos and assets. So I've been getting, DMs from people saying, I can make your logos. And then if you ask them, okay, show me your work, they'll send you a portfolio link that is a scam. Yes, Bags. And you'll check their profile and it's like 2 art pieces. And usually the art is bad or it's pretty obviously stolen. I see a lot of VTubers, honestly, with, I think I posted this on Twitter, their logos basically look identical to everyone else's, with just the words changed. And it seems like there's like just a stock. There's just stock logos that so-called artists, quote unquote, are just modifying a little and selling them. Or they've bought assets and are flipping them for more money than they're worth. Actually, someone approached you with something like that. I imagine someone smart like you probably figured it out. Bun, yes, good point. I did not mention that. Set your DMs to only friends or people you follow. Those bots usually can't get you that way. Of course, a lot of times you end up following a lot of bots because you think they're real, and you do a follow back. But you can still get rid of most of those DMs, those bots, by setting them to friends or people you know, or friends of friends, depending on what site it is. I think Facebook, you can close your Facebook private messages to only your friends or people who are friends with your friends. Yeah, the AI images, Cyrus, yeah, you're right. Eggs, you sent them Fortnite gift cards worth 500 V-Bucks. $19 Fortnite. Empress, you got scammed by artists before. Yeah, unfortunately, very common with people who sell or say they sell background assets, overlay assets, custom chat codes, things like that. They could launder the money real easily with Steam gift cards, you say, Eggs. Yeah, they could. Steam is getting better at security. It's kind of annoying how secure it is, but it's probably for the best. But yeah, if somebody gets your Steam account and you've ever bought anything or you save your purchase information on there, that can be very, very damaging for your finances. Yeah, the hats. Yeah, you're basically laundering it with digital hats, Eggs. Yeah. Let's see, what are the other scams I want to mention? Anything that says that you want a contest, anything that says that you won a raffle, be very suspicious of it. If anyone tells you that your account is at risk, or that someone tried to get into your account, and that they work for the company, they work for Discord, they work for Twitter, they work for Facebook, they work for Microsoft. No, they don't. Those companies will not send you messages that method. QR codes are another thing to be very wary of because they send you to a site and you don't always know what that site is going to be. And I already mentioned the one about testing an app or game. Almost no one is actually messaging you to test their app or their game. Charity scams are unfortunately one of the big ones going around right now because there are so many bad things going on in the world. There are a lot of disasters, a lot of people need help. So there are a lot of scams. Anytime there's a disaster, anytime there is conflict, there will be people trying to scam and trying to make money off of that suffering. If you see someone, saying that they're with or have a link to supporting a charity, make sure that it actually goes to that charity. Or if they say, here's a link to donate to, this disaster relief fund, just type in the actual name of that charity into your browser. Don't click the link to it. Good point, Bun. A legit company will not use anything besides a phone call, likely, or an email that is actually from their website whatever. If a company emails you and it's a Gmail account, if it's at Gmail or at Yahoo, it's a scam. They are not actually a business that ends in @gmail.com. Maybe they might not be, but be very suspicious of it. I do want to mention dropshipping and fake products. Big scams. I hate dropshippers. Right to jail, directly to jail with them all. Make sure you check reviews on any online storefront. A good sign that it might be a dropshipper is they have long delivery times listed, or the site is very generic and minimal. The descriptions of the items might look like it was written in another language first. It is a good way to earn passive income, eggs. Just, you scam people. You probably heard about the epidemic of fake storefronts on Twitter. Bots that were creating random accounts that all had similar looking logos, random words as the name of the company. Those are all drop shipping companies. And even if they...
You're stealing, right to jail. You're playing music too loud, right to jail. Right away. You're driving too fast, jail. Slow, jail. You're charging too high prices for sweaters, glasses. You right to jail. You undercook fish, believe it or not, jail.
Believe it or not,
you overcook chicken, also jail.
That's such a great clip.
You make an appointment.
You like Kubo? Kubo and the Two Strings bags? You say? Great clip, Cyrus. Thank you. A massive red flag to look for, though, is urgency. Anyone who says you need to do something very quickly. This is urgent. You need to take care of it today. You have to do it by the end of the day. That is a huge red flag of any scam. It prevents you from talking to someone else about it. Prevents you from looking up too much about it. Anytime someone gives you urgency in their message, be very wary of it. If they say it has to be done today, it probably doesn't. Anyway, we touched on that Pokemon name generator or type generator earlier. A couple other examples here. How many of you have seen your name in Japanese? How many of you have seen the your name in Japanese one? It isn't actually your name in Japanese. This is just like katakana. Yep, Cyrus, you've seen that one. No, just type your name in Japanese. Then you're just giving them your name. Let's see what my online name, not my real name. Let's see, Aejis. So that'd be Kakuzuki Ari. Kakuzuki Ari. That's not an actual Japanese name. That doesn't work. In fact, if I remember correctly, in the minimal Japanese lessons I took, all of the last names in Japan are set names. It's like in Iceland. I think Iceland has that rule too. There are only certain specific last names. Bun, that was close to a real one. Kakuzuki. Kakazuki. Depends on where you put the stress. Kakazuki? Kaku. Kaka is Polish for poop. And dupa is Polish for butt. Kakuzuki is a real name. Ari is not. Kakuzuki. We're learning Japanese. We're learning Polish today. Let's see, Eggs is Lumo Shishi Kurarichi. And Empress is Teku Doari Motite. Eggs, Iceland, your last name is your dad's first name, Dottir son. Oh, like Bjornsson or Thorson, yeah. The one in the background here is a classic Harry Potter one. Your birth month is your last name. Your specific date is your first... Yeah, you know what I mean. Your Harry Potter house is the 3 digits on the back of your credit card and the 5-digit zip code. In Japan, your last name is San. Eggs. No, it is not. San is an honorific. San is an honorific, meaning someone who is, say, a superior or a term of respect. If I remember right, Kun and Chan are those who are much closer to you. Tan is a very formal one, I think. And Sama is the most formal. Kami-sama. Gunnar Gunnarsson. But let's get to this one. We talked about social engineering, and a form of social engineering is the G word. And the G word is very important to talk about. It is a word that's being thrown around a lot and is being used a lot, but it has a significant and specific meaning, and we need to talk about it in terms of online safety. An ad, I will wait for the ad to complete. Well, I'm going to quickly use the restroom because this is an important topic and I don't want to miss it, so I'll be right back. All right, class. What is the G word that I'm talking about? Oh, the ad was for a movie where criminals kidnap a kid who is a vampire. Oh, they break into the house, right? And the kid is like the quote from what's in Resident Evil? You're all going to die down here. Oh, Rao, you only got an M&M ad? Oh, don't forget, we did add new emotes. Our wonderful kawaii little Aegis emotes. There's a couple of them in the free tier, a couple of animated ones in the level 1 sub tier. Yes, indeed, Empress. That is the word that we're looking for. It is grooming. It is a topic that we need to talk about. A significant, legitimate issue and meaning in the world today. And we're going to talk about it because it's not just something that happens to children. It's not just something that is going around in the world today that you hear about. This is actually just classic social engineering and ways to not only exploit people, but to also take advantage of them financially. And it can happen to anyone. It can happen to anyone. It's the way in which people build trust with someone in order to exploit them. We're going to talk about what the signs are. One of the first things that might happen is a sudden bout of attention or giving favoritism to someone. Singling them out with positive attention, showering them with positive attention. Because a lot of people, I don't know if you've heard the meme, a person holds on to a single compliment for like a whole year. That's the thing that keeps them going. Giving someone a bunch of attention and compliments. Eggs, you say the first sign of grooming and there's no candy in the van. That's the old classic meme version. Yeah. Another step in that process is they might try to develop a sense of obligation in the target, in the victim, through giving them gifts or doing favors for them. It makes the person feel beholden to that person. Makes them feel like they need to do things in return. Another big step in this is that they will try to drive you into an isolation from your friends, from your family, your support group. Like I said, this happens to a lot of people. A lot of elderly people get taken advantage of like this. They will try to drive a wedge between them and their family members. Want to gift me some channel points, Eggs? Okay. I'll take them. Thank you. Whoop! You know that desk costs exactly as much as those channel points. I'm barely breaking even here. Yes, the person will try to separate them from their support network in some ways by using the previous things they've done. A person has family members that might become suspicious of this person who comes into their family member's life, giving them attention and favoritism, giving them, gifts and favors. And then that person will tell their victim, look, they don't want you to have this. They don't want you to have these gifts. They're jealous, and it will drive the person into an isolation from their support network. And yes, Spun, real cults will use these tactics. They will use this specific word here, love bombing. And that's a word that also gets thrown around a lot, but typically not in the sense of its actual meaning. One of the things they will also do is use secret keeping. They will divulge secrets, sometimes not real ones, things they've made up, and then try to get the other person to give them their secrets. Develop a sense of trust, saying, I'm confiding in you. Thank you so much for those stars, Lunabon. That actually helps to make up for the broken desk. They'll try to get the other person's secrets, and then those secrets can be used against that person. Like in the next step, using the person's weaknesses against them. Their psychological weaknesses, their fear of having their secrets revealed. Yes, a warning sign is when you say thank you for the stars. Exactly how Scientology works, Eggs, you say, yeah, that's pretty much it. But now Tom Cruise is going to paratroop into my house and try to take me out. Thankfully, I'm well prepared. My ferrets will attack him. And this next word, gaslighting, another word that gets thrown around a lot, but has a specific meaning. The manipulating of someone's perceptions of events. Getting them to question their sanity. Taking small events and then afterwards talking about them as if they happened in a different way than they actually did. Making the person question their sanity. It undermines the person's confidence in their perceptions, makes them think, maybe I'm not seeing things right. Yeah, well, I mean, as you say, Rao, Tom Cruise does know how to halo jump. I'm pretty sure he did that in a movie. What do they have on Tom Cruise? I think he's the one who has things on other people. Yes, the word is grooming. Empress. Yeah, a lot of these terms get thrown around a lot. And I think in some ways it's because the language of psychology and of social justice is being weaponized to be diluted when these are serious issues that people are trying to raise. And activists have worked for decades to try to make these issues plain in society. They've created these words, created these terms to try and get them across, and then people use them very lightly. All of this will start to gradually escalate, and it will develop into a sense of us versus them. Everyone outside of us, everyone outside of you and me doesn't understand. They don't get it. And of course, in a more classic sense, sending info, sending pics, getting pics from someone, and all of that leads to it being very hard to get away from that person, because then they have information, they have pictures, they have your secrets, and then they can threaten or coerce you. They may threaten self-harm to get you to stay with them. And this can all happen online, not just in person. And again, anyone can be a victim. I just wanted to bring that word up because it is an important piece of online safety, even though it is sort of just going around as a term in political issues right now. But be aware of these red flags when you're dealing with someone. Let's get to another somewhat related. The group chat. The group chat. Closed does not mean private. If you are in a group chat, just because it is a closed group that only people with links get into, doesn't mean that it's private. We talked about people getting access to others' Discord accounts. then they're in all of the groups. They can see all of the posts that have ever been made in that chat. You've got to ask yourself, did I ever post anything in this chat that is incriminating, that is revealing of my personal information, where I live, where I work, where I go to school, the names of family members, my name, things that I don't want them to know? Be careful when you post things in group chats. Again, not to be scared, but to be careful. Be wary. The G word is not the group chat, but it is a G word. It's true, Eggs. It is a G word. Empress, you ask, what if the accusations of grooming are false? Does that person still be afraid to say what their side is doing? I think there is some fear in that regard. Again, because the word has sort of been weaponized. It's, to use another term as an example, it's called fed jacketing or snitch jacketing. It's accusations that someone in a group is, law enforcement. If you're in a political group, you're in an activist group, someone in that group might have an accusation lobbed at them that they are an informant, that they are working with law enforcement against the group. And that can be a very hard accusation to deal with, and it's similar in accusations of grooming. A glowy, that is another term. It's a term I try to avoid, has very negative origins, but yeah. Accusations like that can be very damaging. That's why you need to watch out for the legitimate signs and red flags that come with it. Is there something that actually supports that? Yeah. One of the things that can help you throughout all of this, though, is having trusted persons. Having people that you trust. Having a second... Oh.
Kakarot! This is bad! We have to leave the Earth now!
Hey now, it can't be that bad. Nothing the Dragon Balls can't fix.
Kakarot, the Discord server message is leaked! Vegeta, we have to blow up the Earth.
Kakarot. Thank you for that, Redeem Route. Thank you. For some reason, I'm not able to hear some of the redeems and stuff. I have to edit my settings. You can all hear them, though, from what I can tell. But yes, a trusted person. Trusted persons in your online life. Someone that is a second set of eyes. Someone that you can send a message to and say, hey, does this look suspicious? Does this person seem like they're legitimate? Someone that can tell you and be frank and honest with you that says, I don't think you actually won that contest. I think that sounds too good to be true. Something that is talked about in family safety is safety words, safety codes. Not safe words, but safety codes. Something that you can tell someone very simply, very short, that can let them know, hey, I need help, but I can't say exactly what it is. I can't say that I need help. Something that can also show that it's really you. Something that only you and that other person know. A shibboleth, if you will, if you're familiar with that word. Does anyone know what that word means? Does anyone remember that term or has heard that term before? Shibboleth. Shibboleth. Sounds weesh. I don't know what weesh means. I don't know what weesh means. Rao, you heard it, but you're drawing a blank. Sounds like something from Persona. I'm gonna have to remind everyone that I've lived under a rock. I've never played Persona, any of the Persona games. There we go. Cyrus has us. It's a word that has become a term for a specific way people talk if they're from an identifiable area or culture or the like. Yes. And it's now a shorthand for a passcode or a passphrase. Its origins are in a test that people did to see if someone was actually from their ethnicity, from their language. Because the word shibboleth was something that they could say, but that outsiders wouldn't be able to pronounce properly. So they would ask someone to say it, and if they couldn't say it, they knew that that person was not actually a member of their group. Yes, Cyrus has the correct origin. Now it is any kind of habit or custom that someone has that might reveal to you that they aren't actually who they say they are. But I'm using it as just a fancy way of saying some kind of passcode or passphrase between you and other people that only you would know. Or a piece of your shared history. If I was to ask someone, trying to think of a good example. If I was talking to someone who had been a member of this community for a while, and I were to ask them about my friend Janice, they would probably know that I don't mean my actual friend Janice. They would probably know that I'm talking about our character in Elden Ring. An outsider, or someone who had, say, hacked your account and was trying to get me to, give them something or give them information, they would probably not know that. Something like that. Something that is also only one-time use. Something that you only use once and in an emergency, for example. Yeah. Make sure that you don't keep that message around anywhere, say in your chats, so that they can't peruse and try and find it. Empress, you ask, do you think that trust but verify is dead, just like media literacy? Well, media literacy is dead. For most people. Trust but verify, I don't know if that's dead for certain, but most, especially older people, they raised their kids telling them not to believe everything they see online, but now they believe everything they see online. Everything to them seems legitimate because it looks official, it looks real. But trust but verify in other contexts is a bit different. Yeah, Helldivers 2 really beat the dead horse in terms of media literacy, just like all of the recent discourse about Starship Troopers. Yeah. Bags, say your friend got hacked on Discord. He's in that D&D server. In character, his character invented the word Kemar for his character's lover. So when I got suspicious, I asked the account what Kemar meant. There you go. Something like that. And the hacker doesn't know. What was the movie I was watching recently? It was on MST3K. I love Mystery Science Theater 3000. It was a really bad old sci-fi movie, and this astronaut, his capsule crashes, and he doesn't know where he is. He wakes up in a hospital, but they're keeping him in isolation in the hospital. They say, well, you might have radiation on you, which is something that happens, but they were keeping him in isolation, and he was suspicious of the doctors. He was suspicious of them. So he asked the doctor said his last name was, John Revere. So the guy asks him, oh, are you related to Paul? And the doctor goes, no, I don't know any Paul. And the guy goes, that's all right. Paul Revere was never much of a ball player anyway. And the doctor goes, oh, yeah, sorry, I don't really watch sports. And then leaves the room. And now the guy knows, hey, that's not a real person. That's suspicious. Paul Revere is obviously a famous person in history, not a baseball player. And he knew, it turned out that he was like in a Russian, he was captured by Russia. He landed in Russia. Why am I going on about Mystery Science Theater 3000? Anyway, Paul can't ball. Paul cannot ball. Paul Wall can't ball. Paul George can't ball anymore. He's washed. Paul George fans, don't hit me. Yes, and Cyrus is correct. The better version of Paul Revere is Laura Secord, who did a longer and more difficult, dangerous trek than Paul Revere. History is fun. But that's the last side. I want you to take away this, though. I'm not saying to be afraid. I'm just saying be smart. Ask yourself a couple of questions. What if this person... The text got cut off. What if this person was asking for this in person? Would I be more suspicious? Would I tell this information to a stranger in person? And would I shred this information if I could? I missed one little thing that I want to touch on. Way back here. This. Protect files that have personal info, because I'm reminded, because Empress asked, and thank you all so much, class, because your interaction helps me to make my lessons better. Talked about protecting files with personal info, and can you encrypt or password protect a zip file? Yes, you can. Protect those personal files on your account and regularly clean your browser data. Use a file shredder if you can. Clean up your browser data, clean up your history. Regularly check your hard drive for files that have your information on it, sensitive information, sensitive files, and get rid of them. If you don't need them, get rid of them. Rao, you say, on topic, you created a code for your oldest niece so she'd know if someone in the family actually sent someone to pick her up somewhere. And that is a very good established practice for family safety. A message, a phrase, or something that is used just in the family. Again, one-time use, that if you say it, you know that something is suspicious, something is wrong. Yes, very good. Absolutely something that can be useful, especially in families, especially when you're talking about your younger family members. That is all of my slides. And I can't believe it, class. Can you believe it? You spent about 2 hours watching a cartoon badger talk about online safety on a Saturday night. It just makes me appreciate that what we're doing here is fun and engaging and people like to learn. I think that this is a very interesting, viable method of education. But first, do you have any questions, class? We went through a ton of information, about 2 hours worth. It would probably have taken only about an hour, like an hour-long class, like a normal class length. But, you know, we have a lot of fun, we chat, we shoot the stuff. McAfee or McAfee, it's not the best antivirus, as far as I know. I still say that the free ones like Avast and AVG, not AVGN, but AVG, are okay. Rao, just say no to McAfee. McCafe, you say. Oh, the coffee from McDonald's. Yeah, but also just say no to John McAfee, or McAfee. Although he is dead now. Eggs, you cannot have my credit card number. Even if I need your help, you shouldn't give me yours. If I need the funny 3 little numbers on the back of your credit card to help me beat Dragon's Dogma, do not give it to me. Well, if we don't have any other questions, well, then you know what it is next. You did it. You completed our lesson. You completed our lesson on online safety, and you have earned your certification. I will have these certifications available for you with your name on them. You can get them on the Discord. I will send them to you. Just let me know what name you want on it. Or you can hit me up on Twitter. I will give the links right here. Jump into the Discord. Follow me on the social medias. You can also check out all of our previous lessons on YouTube. There's a playlist with all of our previous lessons on a VODs playlist. But that's it. That's what I got for you. Congratulations, class. We still have our game to play, but for the lesson portion of our stream today, class dismissed.